everyone, today I'm going to show you this massive collection of 160 twin markers by DecoTime. Now these have been a little bit difficult to find in the shops, but I managed to get my hands on a set. So these were at B&M's and they were £40, and that price is correct at the time of this video, which is in March 2025. They've been a bit difficult to find in shops because either the shops don't have them, or they've been going really quick, or people have been buying like all of them to sell them for a bit of a higher price. So if you've looked at my videos in the past, I do have a video for the 100 twin markers that I bought, I think last year sometime. But in this one there's 160 and they are alcohol based ink. They've got two tips, one brush and one fine, and they've got on the box the writing length of 800 meters. They have a new ergonomic shape, so they're more of a triangular shape, and I'll show you the shape in a little bit when I open the box. Made from recycled plastic, alcohol ink, because they do also do water-based ink as well. So if you're looking for these markers that are alcohol-based ink, they're less streaky when you use them, but they will soak through the paper to the other side. So you got to make sure you've put something between the next page or behind the page that you're colouring, so that the ink doesn't go through to the page that's underneath them. Twin marker 2 tips, and they come with the great big deco tray, an extra large deco tray, base tray, so you can keep them all neat and tidy. These are all the colours. Now I compared the colours that I already had from the 100 set, and I also had a 50 set as well. So I also had a total of 150 colours. And then I checked off on a list how many new colours I would have if I added this to the 150 that I already had, and it worked out just over 70 colours that I would be adding to my collection. So I thought that weren't a bad price at £40 for about 72 new colours. And then of course all the other colours are just like a spare one if I run out, if one of the markers run out. So this is on the back of the box. The advice is to store them horizontally, because if you store them upright in a cup or a pot, the ink will all run to one side of the pen, and then the other side of the pen, if that's the nib you're using, would be dry with no ink in. So let's have a little look inside. So these are all the colours, and they're already in the tray. I don't think that they're in, no, they're not in colour order, but they're sort of already like organised into colour groups, going from your oranges, greens, blues, pinks to your browns and peachy colours and your greys at the end. You get a black and a colourless blender. So they are the new shape, which is quite triangular. It's a triangular shape, and if I compare that to the old shape was a square. So now they are triangular, which is easier to hold. It's easier to hold the triangle shape than the square one. So they've got a tip at each end, a fine tip and a brush tip. So the fine tip, you can tell just by looking, has this grey stripe around it here. So if you take the lid off, all of that plastic is grey on the fine tip, and that's your fine tip. It's also printed on the pen, fine at this end, brush at that end. So the brush tip doesn't have the grey plastic, it has black. That is your brush tip. That, I would say that the brush tip, if you just use very lightly the end of it, it's more pointy for getting in finer detail. So to get them out of this big box, you can't really tip them out because all of the pens will come out of that tray and that will be a nightmare to put them back. So what I'm going to do is I've took 4 pens out the middle, and then I'm going to turn the box on its side, and without tipping it, I'm just going to pull it from so I can get hold of the tray from where I've took those 4 pens out, and just slide it out of the box. It is quite heavy, it's quite big, it's quite heavy, but I didn't want all the pens to come out. So there they are in the deco tray, and if you already have DecoTime trays, they've got these little grooves, or these little like notches on top, and they'll fit in the grooves of the other trays you might already have, so you can stack them. So I'm not going to do a colour swatch of these pens while on camera, because I'm going to organise them with the other pens I already have, and then colour swatch the whole set that I have all together. So what I've done is, I'll show you my old colour chart. These were the colours that I already had up to there. So like they're the colours I already had, all these here, and there'll be another 72 going on this chart. So what I've done is I've printed out a new chart, and then I can put all the colours together. If you do want to see the pens being colour swatched, I did do that in my 100 DecoTime marker video that's also on my YouTube channel. So this page, I just printed this out off Google. What I did was, because I wanted a colour chart with enough little squares on, I just printed out, this is actually like a sticker label template, but it would be nice to make into a little colour chart. Or you can Google blank colour swatching charts or label charts. Like I've got another chart that's a bit bigger. I'm going to use that for some paints that I've got. So you can find different sizes depending on how many colours you want on one chart. And the reason that we test the colours out all in a chart is it's easy to see them all together, so it's easy to pick the colour you want, and tend to do them in number order so I can find the number of the pen easy. That's how I organise them. And also we test them because sometimes the colour that's on the lid isn't the same as the colour that it comes out on the paper, and when they dry as well, they dry sometimes a lighter colour as well. So it's nice to see the colours after they've dried, so you can tell how they're going to look when they've been applied. Okay, so I spent all last night colouring in this colour chart, and I found that even though the colours have the same number and the same colour name, which is printed on the lids, the numbers and the colour names, some of the triangular shaped barrels and the square shaped barrels were a little bit different when they actually came out of the pen. So that's probably like when you buy wool to knit a jumper or wallpaper, you've got to get the same batch number made on the same day, otherwise it might be a little bit different. So what I did was I split the squares in half. Some of the colours were exactly the same, for example colour number 46, and so they were pretty much exactly the same. Some were very slightly different, like colour number 2, slightly different. Colour number 3, there is a difference there. Some were dramatically different, like colour number 12, one side's pink, one side's red. So what I did was I split all the squares in half, and I put a triangle at the top for the triangular new shaped barrels, and a square for this side of the section for the square shaped older shaped pens. So same colour number, there are the new triangular shaped pens, and there are the square shaped barrels. I'm not bothered that the colours were different. It just means that I thought I was getting 72 new colours, but really it's turned out I've got even more new colours. So that's better value. I found that there was no odour, because some people say they don't like the smell of alcohol markers. If you do colour with your face really close to the page, or excuse me, actually sniff the end of the markers, they do smell like alcohol markers. But as you're colouring, I couldn't smell anything, even if I put the paper to my nose while I'm colouring. Another thing to mention is I did see someone post on Facebook that they had stored their markers on the floor and they had a heated floor, and then when they came to use the markers again, it seemed to be a lighter colour, as though the heat had affected them. So I would suggest don't store your markers on a floor if you've got a heated floor, or near a radiator, or on the windowsill if the sun shines through the window and heats them up. Maybe the heat might change the colour of the markers. So that's something to bear in mind where you're gonna actually store them. Now I know that it looks like absolute chaos, this colour chart. For me it's okay because I'm quite good at picking the colour that I want. I can see it quickly. I'm quite good at spotting which colour I want. So I went for the markers being in number order, because then I'll be able to organise them in the deco tray easily by number, find which number I want because they're all in number order. But you can colour your chart if you prefer and find it easier to do all the reds together, all the greens, all the yellows. You can do your chart however you find easiest. I'll also show you the back of this page. So I printed this on card. See, it's thicker than paper. It's not super thick card, it's only the cheap stuff. But the markers do go through, so it's thicker than what would be in colouring books. So just bear that in mind. If you're colouring in a colouring book and there's a picture on the back of that page, they will bleed through like this. It's just the nature of alcohol markers. There are some water-based markers or acrylic markers that won't bleed through, but you should test your page first. Test it on, if there's a blank page at the back of the colouring book, test it on that first. But as a general rule, alcohol markers always go through. So if you've got one-sided printed colouring books, put a sheet of card like this in between the page you're colouring and the next page to stop it going on to the next page. I also found that, yes, the triangular shaped barrels are nicer to hold, so I think that is an improvement. With the shape of the barrels being triangular, they were nicer to hold. Not that it made a massive difference, it's not like the square ones, you can't hold them, but that was a nice little difference. So thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.